Awesome. Hi everyone, I'm Adam. I'm the security consultant beside the CX, an ex-software dev, and I'm also a full-stack graduate from the University of Plymouth. Today I'm going to talk about scripting to streamline our processes. I'm going to be focusing on scripts I wrote that saved me going mad while reading benchmarks for operating systems. I just left my role as a software engineer, and I was dipping my toe into professional pen testing for the first time. I drove 4 hours to go and meet the team and get up to speed. My first task was supposed to be straightforward. It's just a benchmark of operating systems, a couple turned into 7. And I realized that doing this manually, sifting through the outputs, checking baselines, and formatting was going to take me days. At one point, I even had hotkeys set up on my numpad just so I could apply the formatting properly. And even then, it took me a while. So yeah, it's just becoming ridiculous. Coding's always been something I'm passionate about. For me, it's just really digging your teeth into a problem and finding ways to automate it and solve it. And that's also what drew me to pen testing, is just that problem-solving mindset. So I saw in that, from the outputs we got, something that could be automated. My first approach was just to take the HTML that came out, try and parse it, and guess out what failing findings. From that, it was fine. It wasn't client ready. It didn't look very good, but it did give you a list of everything that failed. From there, I went down the rabbit hole. I was merging formats, fixing mismatches, and debugging until 4 a.m. But the result, I was actually quite happy with, as we'll see. It took what would have been days of work and compressed it into seconds, and more importantly, it was something polished and repeatable. So what are we actually going to cover? So I want to break it down into what are sys benchmarks, the actual logic of it, how we solve those problems, and what the unique challenges were here. We'll actually go through run through the demo. So it'll be what we're looking at beforehand, how does it run, and then we get to see the beautiful output I slave so much on afterwards. I'm looking forward. So it's definitely not perfect. So I think this is the thing with scripting, is there's always changes, especially if you want to try and bring it to a larger audience. But there are bits in there that's reusable. There are bits that are worth improving, and I think there's always next steps to look forward to. So what's actually the problem? So this is, as you can see here, this is part of an output. They're really good, but they are a lot to sift through. I ran a benchmark on my Windows 11 machine Thursday night, and it gave me a 300-page HTML output that I had the joy of running through. And it's a lot. It's really good, but again, it's not super consistent. Yes, you can get benchmark outputs in different formats, like HTML and spreadsheets and JSON, and each of them by themselves are actually pretty usable, and you can do a lot with them. But when you start trying to compare them to each other, you'll notice internal inconsistencies, which make trying to action them programmatically a lot harder, as we'll see later, and that's where a lot of the challenges came up with this. We could have done this if we wanted to do it manually, just using the HTML. But it's going to take ages, and we're going to be formatting for days, and we're not going to bring any sort of value to it. So I'd much rather try and find a way that we can automate it and spend that time actually trying to provide insights into what we provide. So when I got my sort of teeth stuck into it, we ditched the HTML and started on the XML. And then we kept on dragging in more files because no single file was perfect. There was always inconsistencies. The XML didn't have padding that was needed when we wanted to get it into a PDF. The PDFs that we used on the input, they didn't include indentation and code blocks. And there was just so many more sort of minor niche issues that kept on meaning I had to add as a whole array of files to what really should have been just one problem. When we got into it early on, we were using HTML and XML. Now this was great, but they were massive files, especially for that 300-page Word output I mentioned earlier. And that meant just trying to generate an output for it could take 15 to 30 minutes. So it was not only a long debug process in terms of the issues, but it also meant that optimization was prioritized just so we could try and get the outputs faster and sort of realize what we need to improve. And as we'll see later, there was sort of different formats we needed to stitch together. So just trying to find the right place for a code block to sit in the PDF took me a lot longer than I'd ever hoped it would. Cool. Yeah, so let's check out the sort of some of the key points in the script. I'll run you through some of the unique challenges and what we're trying to solve there. Yeah. Cool. So this is a find pages function. So the PDFs were really cool, but one of the issues with them is we didn't have bookmarks. So that meant whenever the benchmark was break down into different sections, we would try and find like different sort of section, and we couldn't do this by bookmarks. So what we did is we passed it just a number of the heading title, and then we go through and search it in every piece of text on the PDF until we found out where the section started. And then we do this based on the text size, and we see if there's any text the same size or larger all the way through to the end. And that way we can know when it ends as well. And from that gives us the power to find out the different sections for it and try and pull all the data we need from that. Cool. Get finding properties. This is sort of the fruit of our labours almost. It's where we bring it all together and we take the outputs from different sections. We've got 2 HTML and we've got some other bits in there. And so this is where we pull all those different file formats together to make a sort of single tangible source of truth that we can work with. So this is what we use to make the PDF, and this is really where everything lies. Then 2 HTML. This was part of a really interesting challenge. So what we had is, so there was evidence in these documents, sort of showing report outputs and telling you what files they checked. But when it tells you what files it checked, it would run through every file in the file system, which meant these could be thousands of lines long. And again, it's not very PDF friendly. So what we had to do was, where this was the case, is try and tell them how they could check this themselves. So they provide sort of these spreadsheets and these PDFs on how to check it yourself and the actions you need to do. So what I've done here is I've tried just pulling that information from here. It's all been written in Markdown. So it's like things like asterisks, and we've got the triple apostrophe up there instead of what we want, which is just the HTML formatting. So this challenge was really just trying to sort of make it cohesive and make it consistent so we can tie it in with everything else. So code blocks. As I mentioned earlier, we're pulling data from the PDF and we're pulling data from the spreadsheet. PDF was really cool. I thought, great, we'll use this for all the evidence, all the reproduction steps. Live is good. But then I quickly found out that whenever we had code blocks, there was no new line characters. So that meant I could either try and figure out a way that we put new line characters into it, and that's just by guesswork, and you're already looking at the code. It's not super sort of feasible. So what I had to do in the end was find every point in the PDF where we include code blocks, and then pull them from the spreadsheet to HTML function that we just saw. And sort of literally just sort of splice them together. So we've got data from 2 different sources, sort of intermingling almost. Yeah, cool. So let's have a look at some like the actual what's the inputs, how's it run, and what can we get on the outputs. Cool. Yeah. So this is sort of thing we're working with. Since you can see here, this is like page 2 of 300 right here, and it just goes on and on. There's a lot of failing, there's a lot of passing, and there's a lot of checks you have to do. And this is the sort of thing we get out of it. Yeah. So for this example, I've given it two different hosts to work with. So it's trying to run through, it's checking both the benchmark files and it's tying them together and putting them into a single PDF that we've got here. So, and that would have been about a day's worth of work at least. That we've just been able to save, and we could put that time elsewhere into actually sort of studying the information instead of just trying to format it. And this is what we get out. So the branding is consistent with the actual sort of with CyberCX and our documents. We've got a table of contents as you see at page 1 of 207. So it doesn't make it massively shorter, but it makes it a lot easier to work with, and it's a lot easier to read through as well. And as we can see here, this is sort of the evidence section I mentioned here. and just sort of the formatting is consistent, and we've been able to sort of produce something that's sort of more client friendly. So what do we reuse? All of those HTML formatting helpers, they've just been really useful in other projects, especially when I want to try and get things more consistent. The CLI argument passing, so we can actually pass arguments to it. It's a bit of a nightmare because, again, we've got 5 different files for each one, but you can do it, and I'm hopefully going to improve that in the future. And then we've got the PDF parsing patterns and branded templates, because those have been really useful as well. And there's always a point of sort of trying to keep those going. Future plans. So there's still loads of things I want to improve. Improve error handling because of the sort of challenges and issues I've raised here. There are always minor inconsistencies. A Thursday night when I was trying to make the demo, I was having one of those minor errors. So that's always a pleasure. Upgrade the CLI. So but I think that'd be really cool, because right now we have to sort of get the user to pass like 5 different files. And it's not intuitive, it's not super cohesive, but it's doable. Also indexing bookmarks, I love to have it in sort of built into PDFs that you can run through, and you can get all those bookmarks, just like the issue I mentioned with the inputs. Not automatically determine spreadsheet names. That is the biggest issue I've been having with this. It's just spreadsheets don't play ball between the documents you've been given. And it's one of the sort of minor inconsistencies which has made this just such a challenge. So if you're looking to sort of try and take this thought forwards and trying to do something with this, I've got my GitHub up there. It's not live right now because I've been naughty, but GitHub, that'll have all the code on that I've shown today. Automate the boring stuff. If you haven't read this, it's an excellent book, especially when you're trying to deal with challenges like this. It's got you sort of digging into Word documents, digging into websites, trying to automate daily tasks, and that is at the core of what message I really want to try and get across today. So if you're going to check out anything, just check that out. Announcement of code. I think this is a personal favourite of mine. It's not sort of core programming and technicality, but it's sort of problem solving, and for that I really like it. So this starts as a quick fix and turned on something I was able to rely on all the time. It saved my managing consultant Chris multiple times from just tearing his hair out. And I know he likes me for it. And I've also had the pleasure of it being able to be used internationally as well. So that's been a real privilege. And it saved us hours and hours across the company now. That's been really cool. I could have fixed the problem in a day. So naturally, I spent a week just trying to automate it. And it just sort of helped me realize how much repetitive work we just tolerate, because that's how it's always been done. But no, once I had the first version working, it really led to something more, and that was really cool. Even if it doesn't save time up front, it can always be worth just trying to invest time into sort of shortening and streamlining these processes, especially where it improves consistency as well. Because next time we give one of these, it's going to be the same, and they're not going to worry about where their baselines are and how they've changed. So thank you very much for your time. Happy to dig into anything or any questions anyone might have. Thank you.
Have you considered using something like LaTeX or I think Typed is a newer one to format the PDFs?
I haven't, no. So what I've done here is I've used a tool that converts HTML to PDF because my software engineering background, that was just home turf for me. So it's all HTML behind the scenes, and we've got headers and footers written in HTML as well. But no, that sounds really cool.
What do you do if there's a false positive in the main report?
So if there's a false positive in the main report, there's one source of truth for whether findings fail or pass. So when you're sort of going through and you're sciencey checking it there, you can change it there. So this is all, you can change what goes into it. So it's very much, you are still in control of those processes and things. It's a way of purely just saving time where you're going to be, just staring at a Word document all day.
Yeah, no, that's
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Thanks.